Hi, everybody. It's Dan Cerrucci. I'm back again, and we're talking New Jersey politics now, as you know, we often do. And I'm with New Jersey State Senator Joe Pennacchio. Senator, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, Dan.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We've spoken to Senator Pennacchio before. You and I go back a ways. We've had several of these chats. I see that we are live on Facebook right now, and I'm going to make sure that this is disseminated publicly, which means anybody can watch it. We're live on Facebook, and we're also live on Twitter. And I will be posting this at dancerucci.com, and people can follow this live on my YouTube channel. So it'll be out there, and it's great to chat with you again, Senator. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, we're just about 2 weeks away from the Republican primary in your district, which covers Morris County and part of Passaic County in North Jersey. And you're facing a primary challenge. What is this all about?
Beats me. To challenge somebody in my district in a primary, you have to come after me from the right. I think I've been called one of the most conservative, if not the most conservative legislator in New Jersey by the New Jersey Monitor. So my opponent, instead of, and he knows he can't beat me from the right. Not on my record anyway, Dan. So he has to come after me with lies. And how do you answer a lie? With the truth.
Have you ever faced a primary challenge before, Senator?
Well, initially, when I was elected to then Freeholder Board, there was 14 of us running for one open spot, 3 seats in total. So I was lucky enough to get a spot on the Freeholder Board, and that was a little trying. That took a big effort. Most of my challenges have been in the general election, not the primaries.
And have you been out campaigning? What it's like? What are you hearing from people as you head into the last 2 weeks before this primary?
I knock on a door when I'm lucky enough to get somebody that's home, which is about half of the time. They're all very, very positive. When somebody yesterday, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. It's you. I see you on TV all the time. It's you. Well, I've only been here for the last, 13 years in the Senate. So yes, it's me. And we had a very lovely conversation. Of course, they're voting for myself. Not only myself, but the team, the entire team, myself and Jay and Brian.
Yes, you're running with one of our favorite New Jersey Republicans, Jay Weber, and also another great guy, Brian Bergen. I mean, so you've got a great team, Pennacchio, Bergen, and Weber. I mean, this isn't like, I would call this a Republican dream team, Senator.
Well, thank you for those accolades. When they called us the most conservative group of legislators, I promise you it wasn't a compliment. But myself and Assemblyman Weber and Assemblyman Bergen, we wear it as a badge of honor.
Well, you should, absolutely. And I have to say, just for the record, folks, I didn't know about Joe Pennacchio. I'm down here in South Jersey, in Cherry Hill. For those of you who have any familiarity with New Jersey at all, for some reason, like New Jersey and South Jersey are like two entirely different zones. But I had the occasion to contact the senator through Facebook, through a Facebook instant message one day, just very out of the blue. And he answered me, you answered me, Senator, within, I'm going to say, within a matter of, almost in a matter of seconds, he answered me. And that has always been the case. Every time I contact him, I have to think you're as attentive. I'm not even a constituent of yours. I have to think you're as attentive with your constituents as you were with me.
Well, yelling and screaming down in Trenton, that makes news and that gets you headlines. But gets you elected over and over again is making sure that you have empathy with your constituents. And quite frankly, my constituents have no borders. So when somebody's in trouble, their pain is just as much whether they live where you live, Dan, or where they live in my hometown or my district. You need 3 things in order to be a good legislator. You have to be principled. Okay, you have to have a moral compass, and you have to find out exactly where you want to take people because you're their leader. You can't lie, because once you lie once and you're outed, anything that comes out of your mouth is not believable. And third, and I think this is important, you have to be empathetic. The joys of your constituents become your joys, their sorrows become your sorrows. And as often happens when they come into your office with problems, their problems now become your problems. That's what makes a good leader. That's what makes a good legislature.
And that means that you have to stay close to the people for as much time as you spend in Trenton. You have to be in your district, and you have to be on the ground with the people and interacting with them. And I know from your Facebook posts, if I just from your social media postings, you're at a lot of events, and you're with a lot of neighborhood groups and community groups and civic groups uh, throughout the year.
That's outreach. That's what we do. I'm lucky enough to have my office in my hometown, my district office, and I probably, for every 1 hour I spend in Trenton, I spend days in my district office. So this is where we help people. So the phone rings during COVID, especially with unemployment. You know the fiascos that we went through, and people took note. And right after 2021, they overwhelmingly elected me, and hopefully they will see fit to send me again. If they do, I will be very, very honored, very, very humbled too. It's a very humbling experience to think that people put their faith in you, and when 225,000 people in your district put their faith in you, it is humbling.
Now, you're in Morris County, which is, a generally Republican district. It's Morris and part of Passaic. So I have to think that one of the only reasons there's a primary battle is, like there aren't that many Republican districts in the state. And where there are, then whatever Republicans are often fighting over what is there. I happen to think it's a damn stupid thing for Republicans to be fighting in some of the few Republican districts that we have in the state. And I've told Republicans, if you keep fighting like this amongst one another, you're going to be fighting over who gets the right to lose in the end.
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of ramifications for this. Again, on my record, challenge me. You can challenge me. Your listeners can challenge me. That's fine. But when you know you're not going to beat me on my conservative record and you have to lie, then it becomes very disconcerting for me. And also, a major part of my issue and Senator Durr's issues and others that are being challenged, our money, our time, our effort should be and could be better spent trying to take back the majority in the state Senate. So if there's $1 short or a vote short, then you could lay it strictly on the back of these people that just want to be nothing but gadflies and just want to puff themselves up and their egos, because that's what they do.
Well, this is particularly disconcerting when there is a primary challenge to an incumbent Republican. We don't have that many Republicans in the state legislature. We have been picking up seats, thank goodness. But especially a Republican incumbent who has built up seniority, such as yourself, who is a deputy leader of the Republicans in the Senate at this point, and you're on a lot of important committees too.
I think more importantly, it's the record. Just because I have a title, it means nothing. The title senator, quite frankly, shouldn't give you a pass for people not to challenge you. I mean, if you have an untoward record that is not reflective of the people that you represent, they should be able to challenge you. But I send everybody to my website, and I usually tell them I think we're going to agree on 99% of the things. Okay, there's really not that much distance, philosophically, and with my voting record than the way most of my constituents think. And if there's a vote of conscience or something that I did, which is rare, that is against what my constituents want, very rare, then I have to explain it. But that's not what's going on right now.
I know you've been on top of quite a few issues, not the least of which is parental rights. You came out, of course, in big support of the Hanover School District and now the Attorney General has interjected himself into that flap. Why is that so important to you?
Deals with children, deals with kids. We are the stewards of those children. All of us have to take care of at least most vulnerable. And they're very young and they're very old. You saw it with COVID. We didn't do that, did we? Where 10,000 died in nursing homes. Okay, now we want to take that insanity into our school districts. And what Hanover said is for a whole myriad of issues, okay, that may be affecting a child's health, mental or physical, they really should notify the parents. Why is that important? Well, the Attorney General then said, no, you can't do it with the dysphoric issues and sexuality issues. You should do it with them. You know why? Because almost 50% of those communities, those young kids, they have thoughts of committing suicide. Why in the world would you not want to tell a parent that there is a potential issue with your child? Okay, because there's either a confusion or they just don't know, or they do know, but they're being bullied in school. What is a better time to find out? When you visit them in a hospital or when you visit them in a morgue?
I read the Hanover School District provision rule, and I could call it up here and read the whole thing. It's quite lengthy, but it contains a whole list of reasons that you might want to be concerned about a child that should be reported to the parent. It could be, it could be substance abuse. It could be thoughts of suicide. It could be instability. It could be possible mental problems that are going on. It could be related to social media and social pressures. And of course, among them was gender identity and things like that. Why wouldn't a parent want to know?
Of course, it's an absolute parental right. It's a right for them to know. And think of it. Here's a school system, here's a state board of education that's messing these young minds up. From kindergarten on, throughout the entire curriculum, they're being bombarded with stuff that they cognitively cannot process. These kids believe in Santa Claus. They believe in the tooth fairy. So when you try to explain to them that they're potentially you may not be a little boy or a little girl, you may be the opposite. This is an adult talking to them, Dan. They're confused, okay? And children, they basically believe what adults tell them. So what's that called? That's called indoctrination. So once you've confused them and you messed up their little minds, the next thing that you do is you tell the administrators and teachers in school, don't tell their parents any of this, because in case they have messed up little minds, in case they're thinking of committing suicide, which is extreme, but the LGBTQ community will tell you there's a high rate of suicide amongst these children. Let's believe them. Again, what's more important, telling the parent, not telling the parent, or that parent finding out in the morgue or in a hospital?
It sounds like the left wants to. It sounds like the left wants to assume this responsibility totally among a niche group and lock out everybody else. And certainly lock out the parents. Okay?
Well, why is the NJEA taking a leadership role in this? Why? For years, they used to tell us, we can't raise your kids. That's your responsibility. We need more parental involvement. Well, you got it. Last year, they kicked out 500 school board members because they didn't like what was going on with the curriculum. They got parental involvement. And what are they called now? They're called terrorists. They're being threatened to be sued. Okay, so you can't have your cake and eat it too. What is it?
I think for the NJEA, this is a matter of lockstep dogma. Okay, this is leftist ideology and dogma that, according to their rules, cannot be challenged. The minute you challenge it, they will come after you. They will attack you personally. They will call you names. They will say you're a hate monger.
Well, take a number first of all. If you're in the political arena, that's you get that all the time. So if that's what the NKE wants to do, that's fine. But that's leadership. That's not the teachers. Do you know how many teachers you get that come up to us? I'm sure you experience this. I don't like what's going on in school. I don't like the fact that this curriculum is metastatic throughout the curriculum and at all grade levels. Okay, so you may be learning sexual dysphoria in some way as early as kindergarten. Of course, they told us that doesn't exist. Nonsense. That stuff does exist. We put in an amendment when they had the diversity, inclusion, and equity bill. It was pretty graphic. It said you can't teach kids anal, oral, or vaginal sex, and you can't show them graphically any of these. Okay, this was 6 years and under, I believe. Of course, they were yelling and screaming and saying that's not going to happen. Well, guess what? It happened. Of course, we knew it was going to happen. It's happening in Roxbury right now. So, for the life of me, I don't know why you would want to harm a child. And this stuff is confusing and harming children. But ultimately, it's the parents that have to be responsible for it.
Well, folks, you can hear Senator Pennaccio's passion on this issue. Oh, my phone is ringing. I'm going to have to shut my phone off. There you go. You can hear Senator Pennaccio's passion on this issue, and you've been endorsed, Senator, by the I want to get it right, by the New Jersey Family Policy Council. In fact, you were named Legislator of the Year by the New Jersey Family Policy Council for your unwavering commitment to protecting parental rights and your fierce and vocal opposition to New Jersey's sex education standards and other efforts to limit or nullify parental rights.
I'll tell that to my opponent who's saying that I'm woke. There's nobody more anti-woke in the legislature than I am. But that's one of the lies that I have to deal with. So I have to spend time, money, and effort going after this person and these lies.
And then your opponent also put out a postcard that was made to look like the sort of postcard that the NRA puts out when they endorse somebody. Now, the National Rifle Association, the NRA, has endorsed you for your unwavering support of gun rights, of the Second Amendment. I suppose they've endorsed your running mates as well. But your opponent put out the same kind of orange postcard to make it look almost like he got the endorsement of the NRA.
Well, there's no surprises there. And this is the problem. It backfired on him first of all, because the NRA doesn't like when they do stuff like that. Matt Rooney picked it up. The Globe picked it up, and they called him out. And you know who doesn't like it? You know who does not like to be played that way? All those members of the NRA that live in my district that got that card, because they can sniff out nonsense when they see it. Okay, these guys thoroughly believe in the Constitution. Okay, and they don't like to be gamed, and that's exactly what my opponent tried to do with them. So hopefully, come voting day, hopefully they will show him their thanks for that little orange card. I hope it was worth it for him, because it's going to get him in a lot of trouble.
And you also have spoken out on the wind energy project. The windmills on the shoreline and these whales that are washing up on New Jersey's shoreline. How about that?
Yeah, well,
the dead whales.
We actually, I tried to put an amendment in, and the Republicans' response, I think, is pretty tempered and pretty measured. It said, look, just have a moratorium for 30 days. Let's see if these whales and these porpoises and these dolphins continue to die. They're using sonar to map the floor in order for the construction process to happen. And the way that these animals, the way that they communicate, the way that they travel is vis-a-vis sonar. So they will tell you, no, they were hit by a boat. No, you don't know what brought them to those areas where the boats are. Okay, so if we stop for 30 days and all of a sudden the whales stop getting beached and the porpoises and dolphins stop dying, maybe there's something more to it. And there was actually a memo put out by the National Ocean and Atmospheric Association in May of last year that expressed those same concerns. But there's a lot of money invested there, okay? And the last thing that they want to do is not spend that money. In the meantime, look, They didn't have the same concern for 10,000 poor souls that died in nursing homes. No subpoenas, no committee meetings, no chastisement, nothing. They all circled around this government. I'm talking about the Democrats, right? So what makes you think they're going to have more concern for Wales?
And I know you've really been relentless on the issue of the nursing home deaths during COVID, during the lockdown, and still been pushing for a complete investigation on that. What's the status of that?
Well, their status is there's no status. Last we saw, the government is hiring a very expensive law firm out of Philadelphia to tell the public whatever he wants to tell the public. Uh, this administration, this commissioner of health was warned, and she was actually taped. And I think the Star Ledger out of this. They said if you do this policy back in, I think it was May of 2020, if you do this, people are going to die. What did they do? They took a virulent virus, okay? They forced it into a nursing home because you were not allowed to even test. New York, at least you could test before they came in. You were not allowed to test. They put that virus in a nursing home. They shut the door. Nobody was allowed to leave. Elderly, frail population. They didn't have the PPEs. They didn't have the staff. And guess what happened? What happened is exactly what common sense will tell you to happen. They died. We knew that nursing homes were affected because the very first cases of COVID that we had were in Washington State. In nursing home, I think 6 or 7 elderly people died. Then we looked to Europe and the bodies were falling. They were all averaging about the age of 81. The administration knew. What did they do with prisons? They opened up the prisons. Why? Because they knew if you took a virulent virus, you stuck it in the confined area like a prison, that it could wreak havoc. Okay. Well, I wish I had given our elderly and our frail in nursing homes the same courtesy that they gave our prisoners, and they didn't then. And the consequence is 10,000 dead souls.
And I have to go back and say this is what happens when you have such massive one-party rule and you have little or no check on the authority. We both know that under the New Jersey Constitution, the governor of New Jersey is one of the most powerful governors, probably the most powerful governor in the country. He has immense power. He is the only state official elected by all the people of the state, and he's granted immense power in the Constitution. Unlike some other states, we don't elect an attorney general, we don't elect the state treasurer, okay? So this is why we need good, principled, hardworking, hard-charging people in the state legislature as a check on this kind of authority. And how do you feel about this going into the election now, Senator, 2 weeks away?
Well, again, you had a feckless and non-caring Democrat legislature that just sat on their hands. They did nothing. So they were duplicitous. If they knew what was going on, and we're talking about 3 years after the fact, did nothing about it, even though we were promised. Before Sweeney left in May of 2020, him and Tom Kane, the leaders, got together and said, we're going to have that investigation. We're going to have subpoena powers. We're going to do that because it's important, because many people died. They didn't do it. They circled their wagons for this governor. And I would love to say that we can challenge this administration when we get the majority back. It's just going to be a little harder now because some of us are busy spending our time, money, and effort defending off these lies and these challenges that, quite frankly, don't know why they're even running. Aside from ego, we have no idea why some of these people are running against us.
I certainly hope that the Republicans do pick up seats this time. I hope and expect that you will be back there, that Jay Weber will be there, that Brian Bergen will be there. I also want to say that our friend Senator Ed Durr, that he will be back, even though he's facing a primary challenge, who scored such an incredible upset victory that made national and even international news. Okay.
It's insane, Dan. The guy took out the second most powerful Democrat in the state of New Jersey and is rewarded with a primary challenge. This is insane.
Nothing ever comes easy for Republicans,
But it hurts when Republicans hurt Republicans. If you want to be effective, if you want to take back the majority, if you want to start to right this ship, because right now everybody agrees it's heading in the wrong direction. The first thing that we have to do is we have to stop eating our own. We have to stop challenging our own. Actually, that's not true. You can challenge, okay, but you got to be
Right.
basing it on facts. You got to be basing it on a record, okay. Just to get up there and spew lies, it doesn't do any of us any good.
No. And certainly nobody is against debate, a full debate, an open discussion.
Well,
Uh,
that wasn't true. That's not true. We offered a debate. Actually, normally the incumbents are the ones that shy away from debates. But myself and Brian and Jay, we offered to debate in our own hometown. We share a hometown, myself and my challenger. So we said in Montville, the Republican Club was going to have a debate. We all came, okay, and guess who didn't show up? They didn't bother showing up. You know why? Because they can't defend lies.
Well, Senator, we wish you well. I hope I'll be talking to you on the other side of this primary, and you'll be getting ready for the general election, in which you've always done very well, as have Jay Weber and Brian Bergen. And I thank you for taking this time with us today. It's great chat as always.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Dan. Appreciate you taking the time out to get this done. I know your schedule busy as well.
We'll be talking again soon.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks. Bye.